What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Jet Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. Brian asked me before we started the show, what you want to talk about? You want to talk about this? You want to talk about? I said, let's talk about what we need to talk about. Daredevil, Season 2, Born Again. Like you said it, Brian, when you texted me. Why didn't it release all 3 episodes? Because this is what I'm talking. This is what we were talking about, yo. You can clearly tell the difference in tone. While I was watching the episodes, Brian, I was like, hey, you know, he got in shape for this.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
He wasn't like that in season 1 even.
Nope. It's like, what's his name? Wolverine, Hugh Jackman was in the first one to all the way up to, I think, his best physique. What would you rank his best physique in terms of the movies he's been in? I think, wouldn't it be the one that he went to Japan or something like that?
I was going to say the first Mangle movie, The Wolverine.
Okay.
I think that's probably it. Yeah.
So a lot to discuss. I was talking with Freddie earlier about, and we were just praising Vincent D'Onofrio, man. Kudos to them in terms of making him look huge.
Yeah.
And you can feel his presence. You can feel the perhaps anxiety or the stress people that are in his vicinity feel when he is around. They wasted how many years to experiment with something that wasn't broken? And it took Kevin Feige, kudos to him for making the decision of scrapping what they did and giving us this. Just bring him all back. Because that's what you should have done in the beginning. And you wasted time. But I'm glad we're here. Brian, what did you think of these first 3 episodes? Wishing it was 3 the first week. Yo, I can't wait to watch it again, yo.
See, that's the thing. Sometimes I don't understand, like, when they're in the room, how they arrive at how we want to break this up. Because to me, when you get to the end of episode 3, you're like, okay, that is both an arc and a launch pad. I feel like I started somewhere. I picked up the pieces of season 1, but then I got somewhere and I'm interested in where we're going next. But it would have, I think, been more powerful had I been able to watch 1, 2, and 3 in a row. So that's just a note for Disney. I don't think you would have given up anything, and I think you would have gained something from a buzz perspective by doing it that way. But they didn't do it that way. So let's talk about pros. There are still a few concerns, at least that I have. One main one, just in terms of structure. But you said it. The number one thing is, it just, whatever you think of the show, it is cohesive now. The scenes, the look, the action, the characters, like, there is a flow and a rhythm in these first 3 episodes that you just never got to in the first season, which felt just like it was
disjointed.
Yeah, which is exactly what it was. So this one has a pulse, it has a view, it has things it's trying to propel with our key characters. And as a result, that gets you a long way when you have some of the acting chops that you have in this cast. So I'm very much here for this show. I still do not. And by the way, I think had they given you 2 and 3, some of those complaints about the slowness of episode 1 would have been. I really think it would have felt better to have come on board the way this season did once you saw what happened in 2 and 3, where a lot does happen. So I really like that. For the very central characters, I'm generally pretty satisfied. I've been pretty happy with Matt and Daredevil's work here, kind of how he is maneuvering in the shadows because he can't really show himself in any capacity. I've been generally happy with the action. It does feel more a piece of the Netflix style. I thought the prison break was pretty well executed. We haven't seen him yet kind of go mano a mano with a true foe, right? Like a Nobu, a Frank. Like, we haven't seen that yet. I assume that probably might be coming, but we haven't seen that yet. But at the same time, he looks and is doing things in a very cool fashion, using his senses, using his tools. And I think I'm generally pretty happy with that. D'Onofrio, I think they're doing something interesting, which is like they're giving you just enough menace and reminding you of the power, but he really seems
Of the
held
Kingpin.
back. Like I have this sense of like he's almost this caged animal in his office of like, and you see it when he's with his trainer. You get this one brief flash of like, that's my Kingpin right over there, right? And otherwise, he's
His
very restrained.
his presence is almost like watching The Boys when you don't know when someone's head is gonna pop
Oh,
off.
like with Homelander, like you don't know when he's
Yes.
going to lose it. Yeah,
Yes, he has that presence. So you're like, you could feel what's his underling, the one that's gave him a good answer before he
Michael Gandolfini's character.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. You could feel his like, oh snap, this
He's got
is
his
not
hand
good.
on him, and you're like he could snap his neck if it, for all we know. Yeah.
He
And by
gave
the
him
way,
a
that's the
hell of an
power of the
answer.
Ben Urich scene. And we'll get into BB and all that sort of stuff. But the power of the Ben Urich scene is that every time Vincent D'Onofrio makes a move toward another character, you have to allow for the possibility he might do the thing you don't expect. Because he did it to Ben Urich in that one instance. And that, you're right. When you're like, oh, Gandolfini is an actor. They're not going to get rid of him this early, are they? And then you're like, but they've done
makes you
it
wonder.
before.
Yes,
So, and this guy has been shown like he doesn't take to certain affronts. He just goes all the way. And they reminded you that, I think, with the trainer, right? The trainer's not really a named character, but just that moment of flash anger, and he brutalizes the guy. And you're like, yeah, that is in him. So I think we need to see a little unleash, right? This is Kingpin a little bit leashed. He's making his moves. He's staying in the mayoral role, playing some good chess. I thought that like the Matt Murdock hero thing was that's some good
brilliant
writing of like, hey, let's
what?
Yeah, that was actually a nice Kingpin-esque move, like your move type of deal. But I think at some point we are going to see, he's something else too. We need to see the darker, kind of truly villainous side come out, and it will. So I'm generally happy with that. I'm generally, like I said, I've had no complaints so far with like Karen having a more active role. That's been fine. Same with Vanessa, like some of these people that we're familiar with. Bullseye, let's put a little like TBD. I'm interested. Like I kind of like how Wilson Bethel has shown up, but like I think we're too early in his arc to really understand exactly where he's going yet.
One of the things I loved about how these creators created the first iterations of Daredevil on Netflix is how comic book storytelling it is. Imagine looking at a comic book where Frank goes crazy in court, and the reason why he went crazy in court is because he needed to watch he needed to speak to the Kingpin. He needed to see the Kingpin.
Yeah.
Because he had answers. That's how crazy Frank went. I'm going to jail just to talk to this guy. But how they set that up is very comic book.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the opening of this, where he's training with the trainer.
Yep.
You can the way they are doing this, how they reveal the next steps, the momentum, and these are the sort of little things that you notice as far as the storytelling when you compare to the first season. So, and I like the little pieces that they introduce with Bullseye. It's those little things, and obviously we're gonna get to the crescendo of when they meet, and that dialogue as to why he's doing this will be interesting to hear from him why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, so that's why I say like it's a TBD, but I think the way they're doing it is they're making some good appetizers here, and I think having him show up in the church and not just show up in any church, he shows up in the church. Like that's that's some cool stuff. If I had a question, I would say it's, have they bitten off a little more than they can chew, from the standpoint of they are trying to service a lot of characters and a lot of relationships. And there was a moment of when the White Tiger storyline kind of was reemerging where I was like, and I don't have a problem with the character per se, but just sort of the idea of, okay, so I've got the Matt's central push versus Kingpin, but now I have to think about this whole anti-vigilante task force. You kind of have the prisoners. You have Jack Duquesne. You also have the Heather Glenn, which we can talk about, like, from the comics. They seem to be wanting you to believe they're heading toward what happens to her in the comics, but she's got her arc. Matt's, got his relationships with the detective, with the lawyer that he works with. There's those
Yeah.
storylines. And then there's like White Tiger as like a protege vigilante. I'm like, and then you have Bullseye. It's like, that's a lot. That's a lot for a season, to where my concern is simply that can you get to the end of it and have us feel like there was room to breathe in all of the key areas that we need this to breathe in. And that's my only sort of worry after 3 episodes, is so many threads out there.
But I think they do a good job of not overwhelming you with it. I think they obviously choose their moments, and the amount of time that we have with these characters aren't so. I like honestly. There's I've heard from a number of people. Shout outs to Freddie. Who care too much about the girl that's losing it, the
Yeah,
therapist.
I'm with that crowd of like, they put themselves in that corner by bringing her into the show last year as his love interest.
Yeah.
If people know the comics, her end is the end point of her arc is not exactly uplifting. And I think
Yeah.
they seem to be setting the stage for that. I just
Yeah.
don't know if this show needs what she's doing yet.
Yeah. Yeah. With White Tiger, I like the fact that we didn't get to see what she's capable of doing.
But
I
only
like
the
that they
hint of
had.
it with the gear that she had kind of
Yes.
pillaged, taken off the cops. Yeah.
Yes.
We don't
Yes.
know how she did that. We just know she did it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That whole angle, we'll never know, right? Because the actor playing the father, playing the original, like, passed away. So they had to write around that. So who knows if they were actually ready to bring the daughter comic character in this early or not. Like, that's one of those, like, you got to deal like cards you've been dealt, unfortunately. So maybe
Yeah.
they didn't, they're working with it and this is not exactly what they intended. But you're right. It just has the feel like, okay, you've put her on the board. She has to be relevant and contribute and feel like she's not dragging Matt's story down. I think that's the challenge, right? She has to be additive to that. And we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see if they can pull that off.
Is it me, or when I see Kingpin's boy, his right hand?
Oh, Buck Cashman?
Yes. He doesn't remind you of a TV series James Bond?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's funny because I think, like, he had, what was his name? Wesley in season 1,
Yes.
who I
That's his
thought
new
that guy
Wesley.
was
Yeah.
outstanding. And so
Yes.
they're trying to riff on that character, but give it a little, distinct feel. I will say my favorite, I got my favorite Buck Cashman scene, though, of all of these scenes that he's had, which was at the dinner. That's my one scene with Heather Glenn that I actually liked, where he's sitting and kind of going around the room and pointing out the characters. I was like, that's actually a good use of a suave Brit henchman. So I enjoyed that. We'll see where he winds up going. But I don't mind. Kingpin has to have a guy like that, right? Because Kingpin can't be out front. He has to have a front man in order to operate. And so the Wesley character, this character, and I think one of the things in Daredevil that always was kind of fun was when they used to just refer to Fisk as the employer when he wasn't around, but it would be like Wesley with Madame Gao, Wesley with I can't remember what the accountant with the glasses, what his name was, but it's just that was always pretty cool. So yeah, no, I like the actor, I like the character.
One thing I noticed also, do you think, I may have missed it, maybe it went over my head, but I was considering that those cops that went to go check on Annie are not on the right on a different team than Matt?
That could well be.
Because how do they know,
Yeah. But we've definitely started to see like the divisions among law enforcement, right? I actually thought the cherry scene was a really cool. I liked that scene a lot because you've seen that scene a billion times in TVs and movies. So when they walk in and there's already a bunch of other cops sitting there, I was like, oh, that's cool. You guys headed that one off, right? They were a step ahead on that one, And I like when shows do that. They come up with the little wrinkles there.
You already knew what the outcome would be, and so did Duquesne. but they gave it to you immediately when they showed the judge looking at the sign.
Mhm.
That was the first hint that this wasn't going to go, that they were compromised. All
That
of
was
them
a
knew
good
it.
scene. I like that scene.
Yes.
That was a
Yes.
good scene because like you could tell that I thought the judges. I think the middle judge was on The Wire. I think she was the
yeah?
lawyer on the way back when on season 1 of The Wire. I have to look, but she looked really familiar. But you know what I liked in that scene was actually Duquesne. This was my favorite Jack Duquesne episode.
Oh, yes,
Because
absolutely.
his work when he's in the cell where he's giving he kind of knows what's going to happen before it happens. And then when he's in the courtroom and they're reading the verdict and he's giving you this voiceover of what's basically really going on, I was like, this, and then we finally got a little swordplay from him in the prison break where I was like, I was actually feeling like for the first time, that character was like bringing something meaningful to the table. So I was kind of excited. Yeah, we were waiting for him, but like this guy's been around since Hawkeye's episode 1. And I'm like, come on, we need something. Can I ask you about the costume? Because this is something that actually one of the points I have heard of criticism that I personally do not have an issue with, but I have heard it, is that there is a camp that seems to feel that the D squared costume in black was something that should have been earned as opposed to just dropped into the show. Similar to how his first tactical costume made by Melvin Potter, like it takes him getting beaten up by Kingpin where he realizes, oh crap, I need. Did it bother you that has simply appeared as his getup for this season?
Because what I'm thinking about is what I'm considering is he's using it to be stealth, not to be this black daredevil. He just needs it to be as stealth as possible because they're out to get him. And so he's being strategic and sort of blending in. I mean, the other Daredevil would want to be seen.
Yeah.
And this one he doesn't really want to because of what he's attempting to do. Look how crazy they were acting when they say, "Yo, we got to get in there," but how? Is what they call? Did he call it a void or what did he call it?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're
you
right.
know?
I didn't have a problem with this. You have to be honest. And by the way, if you're going to blame a show for that particular issue, the correct show to blame is actually She-Hulk, not this one.
Absolutely.
Because She-Hulk is the one that dropped the red and gold suit with like the little present box where it's like, here's your if you're going to blame somebody for doing stuff like this, that's the show. But I don't have a problem with it because to me, it's like in the first iteration, it's important because it shows him feeling his way as a hero and not necessarily understanding how to utilize the tools available to him, right? And learning from his enemies, right? Learning from Kingpin having a tactical suit. I don't need to see every single suit be something that you discover and then build yourself or have someone or have Potter build for you. He's a hero. I'm okay. He's going to have different iterations of his stuff. Like we're kind of past that stage of development in my eyes to where it did not bother me. But I have heard it out there as a criticism. So I wanted to kind of talk it through. I will say this. I was trying to think. D'Onofrio has a number of lines over the course of his however many years of doing this character, but I did particularly enjoy his exchange with Vanessa, where she was asking him about the boldness and the international nature of his plan. And she says, how many worlds do you need to conquer? And he said, how many are there? That's like one of my favorite Kingpin lines ever.
But and understanding what he means by that is currently he's in the world that he's in is portraying this mayor in this elite status world, but there are other worlds that he's unfamiliar with that where he could expand his reach if needed to. So it's not necessarily the world that we live in, but the worlds that govern societies and members of these other worlds that exist. That's what he's referring to pretty much.
I also thought that tangentially fell into the category of maybe because I'm hypersensitive to it. I thought this was a very purposeful little Spider-Man runway series of episodes, because you got, first off, Friendly Neighborhood Mayor was referenced in a BB video explicitly. That was not an accident. And the whole discussion of where Frank is and what he's doing and why he's not present, I thought was very interesting because we know where he is effectively and what he's going to be doing next. But Matt and Karen kind of talking that out, I thought was actually notable in this episode.
But did we mention or have they discussed what Punisher, what the sort of plot of this? And I know we get the title Last Kill, but where did he go? What information did he find out that when he escaped, he needed to go do this?
Yeah, so well, we do have a little bit of Punisher info now because we know we think we know the villain, right? We think we know the actress and the villain he's going to be up against in the special, but obviously we know he's going to end up with Spidey in this timeline. And so I think the fact that Matt and Karen are devoting 5 minutes of an episode basically talking through why isn't he here right now? It must be something pretty darn important. That I thought was like notable as a Spider-Man, like, we're going to answer that question for you. And then I actually put the category of when Kingpin says, how many worlds are there? To me, that's also a bridge to what will bring him in contact with the broader universe of Spider-Man and what he's a part of. And so to me, it was like a very nice, subtle, not subtle groundwork being laid in this episode for things we know are connected. So I was very, very excited when those little things happen.
Are you? I'm pretty sure you are. I think you touched on it a little bit earlier. But the fighting, the fighting, the style, how they're doing it is just unique every time we look at an episode of what he's doing. And I would hope, was that the scene that we were waiting for as far as the hallway fight?
I
This
don't
is just
think so.
another iteration or another type.
So I don't think so. I had the same reaction when I was watching it because I was like, this is single cam. The pacing is faster. So the camera's moving a lot faster. In the hallway, it's a very slow rotation, right? And then this is very kinetic, but I'm going to guess it's not the one people are talking about. But the two things I like are, number one, the acrobatics are back. He's very consistently mixing his brawling with using flips, using stuff that only he can do. So I'm a big fan of that because I think that's true to the character. The second thing is I do think they are experimenting a little bit with where to put the camera and what to show you. I was actually getting weirdly a little bit of like Witcher vibes in this episode because I think of the Witcher as they were very good at I call it the diagonal shot. I don't know what to call it. The camera is like placed in the corner and you're kind of seeing the characters fight like at an angle to the camera. And it always worked really well for the swordplay. I thought in the prison, that's what I was seeing. Like the camera was not centered. It would be like off center corner. And then Daredevil would be moving at an angle to that or he'd unleash his weapon in a way that looked very 3-dimensional. I was a fan because I was like, this is a little different than what we got used to in Netflix. And I do think this show has a responsibility to both uphold the quality, but find new wrinkles. And so far, I am satisfied. I do think we need, like I said, we need to see him like go up against Bullseye, go up against somebody where like it is true high-level foes, but I'm pretty happy with the brawling so far.
It's not only different than what they did with Netflix, but better than what they did in season 1 of Born Again.
Oh my God, that to me is, yeah. It's funny for all the people who start petitioning for like, can we redo like Rise of Skywalker? How about we redo that? Can we redo season 1 with the right people?
And do it in animation so we don't have to get all these, keep the production costs down, do it in animation. I'll be happy with that. To see a Daredevil animation first season?
That actually would be really
redo?
Good. That would be good. Anyway, I know it'll never happen, but like there is a what if when I'm seeing this show now of like, those guys got there too late to save season 1, but they clearly know what they're doing. And it's like, we kind of wasted a year and set back the character's popularity because of the poor ratings. And it's like, I just hope it doesn't prevent this thing from kind of getting to where it seems like they might be able to get it to and get it back to.
Charlie Cox's physique.
I did not see that coming, by the way.
No, nobody saw it. But I said, when he was in t-shirts and stuff, like, yo, he looked like he's solid. Like he looked like a bigger guy. I thought the suit was the thing that made him look bigger. And then when I was like, yo, they got in shape for this joint, yo. He's up there with Chris Evans, yo.
Well, he's
in top tier cap.
Well, I was gonna say leaner than Evans. Like his definition with the full 6-pack, that's as muscularly defined as Daredevil's ever been in the live action version. But it's not even close.
Yes.
Because he had his shirt off a lot in season 1 where he was getting beat up, and he didn't look anything like that. He looked fit. He looked like a fit guy, like a guy who did CrossFit. This guy looked like, he's rocking the steroids. He's got the serum. Yeah,
he's there to break bones and do all that.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. Like that's impressive. I'm glad they gave him a couple scenes to show off the work that he's been doing. But he also didn't look overly bulky either, right? Daredevil's not a huge bulky guy. And I was like, this is actually a really good training program, whatever they got him doing, because it's like, he looks ripped, but he doesn't look huge, and I think that's great. So I was like, well, no wonder Karen's extra into him now. But
I talked to Freddie about this, and there wasn't a big surprise when we found out it was BB under the mask. Was there a big surprise? Did you expect it, and your expectations were not? It wasn't a big surprise when she was revealed to be the one behind the mask.
I think that's right. I mean, the show had not really given us any other viable candidate for that role. So it would have had to have been like a Foggy or somebody totally off the board that would have really made any sense. I have to say, like, that's, as I said, in the category of like how many characters, how many threads, I am still jury is out on that whole motif. The home videos, BB versus like the idea of having another Uric, because as someone brought up in one of the critiques, but I think is totally legitimate. To like, given the history between Wilson Fisk and Ben Urich, the second he realized there's another Urich anywhere near his operation, wouldn't he
try to take him
all
down
over that as like, I got to get that out of here?
I mean, he got people in cages. Why would he keep her around? You know what I'm saying?
So that's where I'm like, this whole motif kind of like, they need to figure out what exactly this is doing here, because if it's just name service to Ben, that's not enough.
But the message is positive, so that's why he's chill, right? New Yorkers are talking about how things are great, and this, you know what I'm saying? So I think because it's positive, it's not something that necessarily concerns him as of yet. You know, is the other stuff that got him crazy.
Yeah,
you know.
I will say, like, I do love that both Netflix and now that the showrunners are kind of, that Scarlett Payne is sort of back doing this. I will say, like, they don't ever have to leave the dance of Matt's ultimate mission is to expose Kingpin as part of taking him down. Every one of his attempts is about this. He always says it's to make the city see him for who he really is, right? That's always the objective. And then Kingpin on the other side is always a step ahead of that. Like, every second he gets exposed, he's doing something else that like turns the table. They can do that till the end of time. Like, to me, it's like, you don't ever have to forsake that as a central thrust of the show, because it always works. And it's always fun to see the chess match there. And that, of course, is what pisses Frank Castle off, right? Because he's like, what are you doing? Just like shoot the guy. Like that, who cares if he's the mayor? Like that's the tension. Yeah. So,
yeah. That's why that second season of them on the roof is like the best scene. For me, that's not my number one top scene.
I also say, so this is why the other thing I thought about the Duquesne scene and the trial as being very significant is I've been trying to figure out how do they get Jessica Jones? How do they get Luke Cage? How do they get these other characters back on the board in a way that doesn't feel like, hey, look over there, you know? And it's like, the trial is the thing, right? The cages are the thing. Because now when you do that and you do it in a way that felt pretty decent and compelling, it's believable that anyone who would qualify under that label could be roped into the story. And I think that's probably where we're headed in terms of why Jessica Jones might get involved.
I think we're going to be seeing certain scenarios where things obviously get worse before they become better. And because they get worse, they have to sort of look to align themselves in order to overcome, I would say. Did you at any point were like almost expecting to see them or see Jessica Jones, even because we know that she's going to be in this season? Did you were at any point were like watching, like for me, when she was at the bar, Matt's partner was at the bar, and that person bumped her, I thought it was her. And I was like, oh, snap.
Instead of Karen.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Instead of
yeah,
Karen.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's obviously you couldn't readily cage Jessica Jones, right? Super strength. She could break out of there pretty easily. So I don't know that there's been there was the only thing we've seen so far that they didn't do that might have been an entry point for her was actually Angela. So they had Angela go to Matt's offices to report her aunt being missing. That was maybe the character I could have seen, right? Because Jessica Jones is a private investigator, right? That's the character where like maybe she somehow finds herself at her offices and she's like, I hear you are great at finding. So that's where I was like, that's the only character where I was like, maybe she could have brought her in. But now with this anti-vigilante task force and the fact that he's running this closet, kind of Rikers Island for those people, like I think it's easy to bring in Jessica Jones and have it feel like it makes sense why she would be like, oh, I got to deal with Matt again. Like, okay, I'll I have to do that. So
anything else, Brian, before we wrap this one up?
No, other than to say, like, again, I mean, they say happiness is a function of your expectations. I didn't have low expectations for this, but I think that I had wherever I had the bar at the start of season 2, I feel like the bar has been significantly raised after 3 episodes to where I wouldn't say I'm quite holding them all the way to the season 1 or season 3 standard yet, but I'm getting warmer. I'm getting close to being like, I expect you guys now to do something in that class consistently.
We're in a good spot, though.
No, they're definitely like this is much more. It's where's the Thor? This is more like it. Like, no, we're definitely pretty close to back. Yeah.
But let us know in the comment section below what you guys thought of these episodes of Daredevil season 2, episode 2 and 3. This is what we wanted.
Marvel TV, man. Wonder Man and Born Again, all of a sudden, very quietly, it's like, oh, maybe there's signs of life.
Absolutely. And I mean, again, the right people in the room. And kudos to Feige for rounding up those people, right?
It is a win for the new model, right? Because it's like, it is, right? They overhauled the model. It is a reminder of TV shows are still ultimately probably only as good as their showrunners. And you've had good showrunners on Wonder Man. Obviously, Scarlett Payne with the experience with Punisher and Netflix seems to have the house in order with Born Again. I think we're pretty optimistic, that the Punisher special is not going to be a step down. So then you're like, hey, that's 3 for 3 out of the gate in 2026 for Marvel TV. And then obviously you switch to big screen for Spidey. So yeah, it just shows you how quickly these things change, right? Like,
So yeah, let us know in the comments below what you guys thought. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, share with your friends. And comment in the comment section below what you guys thought of this. This is what we were waiting for, and they delivered, yo. They delivered. Yes, we questioned, but these guys came in knowing what they couldn't do and what they needed to do in order to propel their legacy. Because
I'm telling you too, this is all wins for Spider-Man. Now that we know they're linked, now that we know this is all heading towards somewhere, every time you see these, if you're like, as I said, these show is good, Punisher special is good. These are wins for a character who's already, a mega character, but just makes me more excited for what the possibilities are.
Yeah. So yeah, hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Nerd Gen Report.